Broadcasting on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on podcast platforms, including Apple iTunes, Spotify. This is Citadel Grayline. Hello. Welcome back to another fun show as we give you roughly 45 minutes of conversation about your Bulldogs of the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. John Rawl is my name, and this show is presented in part by IPS Packaging and Automation. This is an upstate South Carolina-based company that's been providing packaging products for decades, really since the 1970s. And they're a Citadel-led company, do a good job, and we're happy that they are our presenting sponsor. As they have all these decades in the packaging business, they stand tall as a leader in the business. They play a crucial role in the processes of countless businesses and manufacturing facilities across the good old USA. And again, as I said, Citadel-led. They've been a sponsor of this show for a long time, and we appreciate this upstate-based company. Discover what IPS Packaging can do for you. Go to the website ipack.com or call them at 800-277-7007. IPS Packaging and Automation is a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier is on as usual, sir. Hopefully your week is going good.
Really busy week with basketball starting to really heat up here a little bit, and then the local Charleston Battery soccer team, which I know you guys don't care too much about. I have to care about. They're starting in the playoffs here in the next week as well. So yeah, busy time of year for me and the local Stingrays hockey team. They started play last week. So yeah, no rest for the weary, as they say.
Well, we are excited to have you on and appreciate your great analysis. Again, postandcourier.com. Go there and click on the Citadel logo there on the homepage, and you'll see all kinds of goodies coming from Andrew. And I was able to do that the other day. Thank you for your great writing of Citadel Sports. Thomas Scruggs is our Bulldog insider as well. Thomas, good day to you, sir.
Don, how you doing? And I will say I do not care at all for Charleston Battery soccer.
Come on, always got to be someone ruining the fun. But maybe one of these days. That's right, you're more concerned about Citadel soccer. I got you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, and also concerned about Citadel football, the other kind of football, according to the world.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we're excited to have you share your analysis of all things Citadel on this week's show. And we've got a very special guest from the Citadel class of 1977, former player and a longtime assistant coach at the Citadel and other places like the University of Maryland, Dave Sollazzo, joining us from beautiful Cresco, South Carolina. Welcome, sir.
Very much. Actually, I'm in Mount Pleasant.
Yes, I think that's a nickname of Mount Pleasant, Cresco.
Oh, it is. I didn't know that.
It's on your town seal, at least. Take a look at it. Take a look at it sometime when you are cruising down Mount Pleasant. I don't know if it was ever an official name, but I don't know why the Mount Pleasant town seal has Cresco Mount Pleasant. I think it even says Cresco before Mount Pleasant. But I digress. More importantly, I'm concerned about your logo and what you stand for, sir. Welcome into the show again. We're tickled to have you, Dave. Tell us what all, speaking of Mount Pleasant, I think you know a little bit about Mount Pleasant besides living there.
Well, yes, I work for the Mount Pleasant Recreation Department. And prior to that, I was coaching at Oceanside Collegiate Academy. And I reached my 45th year of coaching defensive line football, and we won the state championship. And I just decided to maybe move on after 45 years and do something that was a little less stressful. So now I work at the recreation center, and it's all good.
45 years and going out as a state champion. That's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you very much. Yep, it was a great career, and I was very blessed, very, very blessed.
Well, we're going to learn a little bit more about what you are doing now, but also a lot about what you've done through the years. As we said, Dave, a former Citadel player, then went into coaching and more, and he has a connection to the current coaching regime at the Citadel, so it's going to be a good time catching up with you as we go forward on today's show. All right, let's talk about this current regime of the Citadel, and that's Maurice Drayton and company, as the Citadel had a home game this past weekend, and it was a close game. It was a very high, potent Western Carolina football team that came to Johnson-Haygood Stadium. Andrew, unfortunately, things were nip and tuck there for a while, but in the end, Western Carolina was able to get the best of El Cid.
Yeah, and Tyron Dixon, who came in as the preseason Southern Conference Player of the Year, certainly didn't do anything to dispel that early recognition, because he was outstanding. Threw for 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards, and nearly 400 yards in total offense. He was everything they said he would be, and I know Dave kind of knows a lot about this, but if he's playing in the Southern Conference next year, I will be absolutely shocked. The way that this guy completes the ball, the way he throws the ball, his decision making, he's going to play at some FBS school. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a Power 5 school, because he's a little bit small, very slightly built guy. But there's going to be some FBS program like a South Florida or Florida Atlantic or some team like that because he's from the Miami area. I just feel like he's too talented and somebody's going to scoop him up, not unless Western Carolina has just a ton of NIL money or a ton of money to throw at him. I don't see him playing here. He was great. The Citadel, I thought, especially offensively, looked really good. They scored 6 out of their 11 offensive possessions. They were right there in the second half. They had this opportunity. They'd come up with a 3 and out defensively. They were down a touchdown and had a chance to kind of tie the game. And unfortunately, Western Carolina ran a fake punt. They got a first down, and that kind of ended the threat there. But the game really, to me, came down to the middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half, and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter, where Western Carolina scored a couple of touchdowns, and I thought that was the difference in the game.
Coach, what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is, like Andrew just said, they were there. And they're at the point now where obviously they got to take the next step. But if you look, the last couple of years, they have taken the next step. And, the Citadel it's a different type of program. And it takes a little while when you have a new head coach. It was no different than when I was there with the great Bobby Ross. My first 2 years, we were 2-10, I believe, 2-9, and then we went on to be pretty darn good, and had winning seasons. And then when I coached there with Charlie Taft, it took a couple of years to get things going, but once we got them going, I mean, we were top of the line and won a SoCon championship. So I have full faith in Maurice Drayton and his staff, that it's just going to be a matter of time, a short amount of time, before they can, get over the top.
All right. You've done it. You've seen it happen a couple times, as you said, in the Bobby Ross and Charlie Taft eras. And this was a Western Carolina team, don't forget, prior to the Citadel, they took on Furman, and they wiped out Furman by nearly 50 points.
That's right. Yes. It's a little tougher to recruit at the Citadel, as we know, but the bottom line is you have tremendous people on the football team. I mean, when I was there as a coach for 10 years, my players, the entire football team, I just basically worship those guys, and they give you all they got every single day. And it was a little different back then, obviously, as far as practice and things of that nature. And the Citadel just breeds good people. But I'm very confident that Maurice Drayton, Coach Drayton, I recruited Coach Drayton to the Citadel back in the late 90s. And I'm very confident that, he'll get the program right where it needs to be here shortly. He's doing a heck of a job.
And Dave, how different is the current Citadel defense to what you've been used to in your career coaching defense?
Well, I think they're recruiting very well. Be honest with you, back when I coached there, I mean, the Citadel is a type of place where, as a coach, which makes you a great coach, and it's what all coaches really need, you have to develop players. And you're not going to get, like they say today, the 3, 4, 5-star guys. You're going to get players, hopefully, that just want to play. And they're football players. And they're good people off the field, but when they get on the field, they cut it loose. And, I was fortunate to have a bunch of those guys when I coached at the Citadel. So I think the defense now, I've been at practice. I think they have what it takes. The SoCon, as you mentioned earlier, you're facing some good football teams. And obviously they have different resources in recruiting, and they don't have the military. So you really have to develop the players. Technique, fundamentals are huge. And I believe they're right there. It's just a matter of time before they get over the top, as I mentioned earlier.
Andrew, do you concur?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that people don't, that kind of the average fan doesn't realize is, and this sounds so stupid to say, and Dave, I know, can speak to this better than me, teams have to learn how to win. And I know that sounds stupid, but they really do. You have to learn how to win, and you have to learn what the process takes to the Citadel. They're making incremental steps. Now, are the steps coming fast enough for the fan base? Maybe not. But, I look at this team 3 years ago when Murray Straight took over 0-11. And let me tell you what, if they'd have gotten down a couple of touchdowns that year, they'd have just kind of folded tents and gone home. But this team didn't. They got down a couple of scores in the second half. And what did they do? They battled right back. They made it a 1-score game with an opportunity maybe to have the ball and to tie the game up. So these are small steps that every program has to take, and the Citadel's taking them. Do they want it to be faster? Of course. I mean, Maury Strayton after the game said, I want to win now. I want to win right now. This is, I stay, I sleep over in the office overnight. I sleep on the floor, because I want to win right now. And I get it. Everybody wants to win right now. But like I wrote the story in Sunday's paper, this is another step towards getting to the ultimate goal, which is to have a winning program, win the Southern Conference, get in the FCS playoffs. And they're taking these steps. There's nothing that I have seen so far in the last 2 seasons that don't show me that Maurice Drayton and the staff and his philosophy and his culture that he's building there isn't working. It is working. They just need now some kind of results to, reward them for all the hard work they put in.
Do you agree there, sir?
I think Andrew is right on the money. I really do. He's spot on. Once they have that one breakout game where they maybe are down and they come back and they win, obviously the Citadel kids are extremely mentally tough, and they're going to build on that. And it takes that one win over the top, and on a day where they play maybe a better football team. And I can remember back in the 70s when I played, we lost to Clemson by 3 points, and it was either the first or second game of the season. And we just, that was the breakout year where we went on to have a winning season, and just building that confidence. And that's what they're doing. They're building confidence. They're coaching them hard. And once they have that one breakout game and they get that confidence and they learn how to win, like Andrew said, then watch out. They're going to end up being a really good football team.
Well, gentlemen, speaking of winning teams and breaking out, Hood Construction has been doing just that for 39 years. They build it the right way. Hood Construction, a full-service construction management company with locations and clients in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. Hood Construction takes a holistic approach to their clients' business and project objectives in order to find the best value solutions. Go to hoodconstruction.com and you can check out the projects they've got going on throughout the South Carolina and surrounding states area, including the North Augusta Public Safety Headquarters. You can go look at some great photos of that in beautiful North Augusta, South Carolina. That's just one of many things they've got going on. Hoodconstruction.com. That's the website. Go see what they've got going as they do fantastic work. Don't take it from me. Take it from Thomas Scruggs, right? You're going to say good things about Hood.
Yes, sir, John.
Okay, all right. I was waiting for the delayed response. I didn't know if something had changed.
Yeah. Well,
Dave,
we appreciate you promoting Hood Construction. As a matter of fact, I got to get back to Columbia here soon. We have our annual oyster roast. Usually well attended. So looking forward to that this evening, to getting to rub elbows with our clients.
Is that an invitation for all of us?
That would be for 2 of the 3, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about our entire audience. I want everybody, the millions of our viewers.
Sorry, John. No, that is not an open invitation.
Okay. Oh, I guess it is oyster roast time of year. Man, the time is a changing for sure. All right, we have to take this loss to Western Carolina, and we just can't shake that purple, Andrew. We got more purple in our rearview mirror and in our right in front of us too.
Yeah, I thought Maurice Drayton really kind of set the tone this week when he said "purple makes me puke," which I hadn't heard in a couple of years, but I thought was pretty funny, and that's why I got it in the headline in our edition on Tuesday. Yeah, and Furman is kind of a strange team because, they get beat by Presbyterian, which obviously wasn't good, but Presbyterian now they're undefeated, so maybe they are a pretty good football team. I don't know. And then they win 3 or 4 games, and now then they just get trucked by Western Carolina, and then got beat by Wofford too. So I don't know what to make of this Furman team, who I thought was going to be pretty good this year. But again, the Citadel has played really well on the road, especially in Southern Conference games. They beat Sanford at Sanford. They beat Chattanooga at Chattanooga. I don't see why they can't go up to Greenville and beat Furman the way they're playing right now. And you got to think that one of two things: either the Furman has lost all their confidence after losing a couple games in a row, or they're going to come out fighting mad. And you assume in a rivalry game that they're going to come out fighting mad, but I don't know. The way the Citadel has played on the road this year, I really like the Bulldogs' chances there and getting a W.
I mean, you asked me, I think the Citadel should be favored in this game, and they're going to be favored at the VMI game. Maybe not the game in Oxford, but they got a lot of good things going on the schedule for the next few weeks.
Yeah, the next, their last 4 games without Ole Miss, obviously, who's a nationally ranked team, is going to be in the FCS playoffs. But they play Wofford, they play VMI, they play Furman this week, and then they play East Tennessee State. All teams they can beat. I mean, they could end up being 6-2, winning 6 games in the Southern Conference. I know we're looking way ahead and getting ahead of ourselves on this, but the only 3 times they've won 6 conference games is in 1992, 2015, and 2016. So what do those 3 years have in common? Well, those are the years they won the Southern Conference and went to the FCS playoffs. So, that would be quite an accomplishment for Maurice Drayton and this coach.
I think that's going to be a very good thing to look forward to. Yeah. So, Coach.
And again, I think all 4 games are absolutely winnable.
Yep. Dave, knowing all that they can end up having such a great season, how does the team and the coaching staff stay focused on one game at a time?
Well, obviously the coaching staff is very experienced, and as a coach, that one game at a time, nothing's changed there. And especially when you're building a program, it's very important to keep the players focused, and the coaching staff, it starts there. So I'm sure that, that they're really, really sending the message home one game at a time. It's the next game. Let's just go out, focus on that, have a great week of practice. Obviously, everything starts in practice, and then take the practice field to the game field.
Okay. Well, that's what we think they're going to do and hope they're going to do come Saturday for sure when they go to Greenville, and then coming back with VMI and the other games remaining on the schedule for the Citadel Bulldogs. Let me tell you a little bit about some fun, Dave, that we do each and every time we get together. We have something called Knob Knowledge. Now, once upon a time, I guess it would have been 1973, you matriculated to the Charleston campus. Did you have a good knob experience, Dave?
Well, I came from New York. I got recruited.
No way. No, you got to be kidding me.
Ralph Friedgen, who recruited me and was also my defensive line coach, who, obviously coached for Coach Bobby Ross. And Ralph Friedgen went to the same high school that I did in New York. Oh. And to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever even heard of Charleston when he came up to visit me in New York. And then, long story short, but I took my visit, and I wasn't the most military type of person, to be honest with you. And it was the only complete full scholarship that I had. I had some partials to some different schools, and my mom really wanted me to go to the Citadel. She absolutely loved the Citadel and everything about it. So I honored her, and I went, and it wasn't easy. I'll tell you that. It wasn't easy. My freshman year, it was brutal. And, guys talk about how tough it is now, but we had no air conditioning back when I went in the 70s. They didn't get air conditioned to the 90s. And it was hotter in my room than it was on the practice field. And in the locker room, we had no AC. And then coming from New York, where the temperature was probably 75, coming down here and it's 105. And Andy Clausen's running around yelling at you as well as the coaches. So, but it was probably the best thing that ever happened without a doubt, the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. You talk about building mental toughness between the military and the type of football that we played back then, extremely hard-nosed football. I played on the defensive line. I was a little undersized. And, back then we were all Division I. There was no 1AA. I mean, we played East Carolina. They were ranked 10th in the country. And we played Clemson. We played a lot of good football teams. Appalachian State was always really good. Furman, arch rivals. I was fortunate to beat Furman 4 years in a row when I played at the Citadel. And, I hope they keep that rival going, because that was a great rival. And, they got to go up there and beat him this week. But the military was tremendous at the Citadel. And I would have said the exact opposite back in the 70s when I was there. But looking back now, just like they say, the Citadel made me into a man. And then when you come out, the connections are just over the top. I mean, everybody wants to hire a Citadel cadet because of the discipline and the education and all the things that the Citadel stands for. And I was very fortunate to come out and got a high school job at Old Fort Johnson High School on James Island with Larry Sechrest. Coached high school for a while, and then I got into college and coached at the Citadel, and it really, really shaped me into a great person and a good coach.
Wow. You need to be on the payroll over at the Citadel. And not as a coach, as a publicity guy.
Let me say this also, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I look back, and the coaching staff that we had at the Citadel, I don't know if people realize to this day, Bobby Ross was obviously the head coach, one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. And, he won He went to a Super Bowl as a head coach of the San Diego Chargers, won a national championship at Georgia Tech. Ralph Friedgen, one of the best coaches in the history of the University of Maryland, and probably the best offensive coordinator in college football at the time. And then we had Frankie Beamer, Coach McCombs, Coach Laycock, who had a tremendous career as the head coach of William & Mary, Charlie Rizzo. Our coaching staff was just phenomenal, and just appreciate that to this day.
Yeah.
It made me into a really good coach.
Great. Well, I brought out the knob thing with you, Dave, because we have a little fun on this show. We have a knob knowledge question that we ask each week, and if you can text the right answer to 843-779-8496, you win a really cool prize pack from seniorprivate.com, our presenting sponsor. Want to give a very special thank you to one of our fans who chimed in last week with the correct answer, and that was Greg Whitehead. He sent us the correct answer. Last week's knob knowledge question, by the way, was it's now a parking lot, but in 1959, this field was named after a colonel who during the American Revolution recruited, trained, and led what would become the first U.S. cavalry unit. Tell us the answer to that. Well, Greg was able to give us the answer. How about you, Knob Dave? Do you know the answer to that knob knowledge question?
Whew, that's over my head.
Well,
I do not.
That would be Colonel Michael Kovács Field. You probably heard of that one.
Yes, I have.
Yes. Well, he was a native of Hungary, and he was the inspiration behind that. And I guess Benjamin Franklin had something to do with all of that Kovács connection to America. Kovács was killed on May 11th, 1779, while leading an assault on British forces that were laying siege to Charleston, and was reportedly buried a short distance from the Citadel's campus. A memorial plaque was presented to the school by the American-Hungarian Federation back in 1955, and the area known as Kovács Field was dedicated November 1959. What about that? A great connection to the American Revolution from Colonel Michael Kovács and that field there at the Citadel. Now a parking lot. Maybe we need to have a statue up there. We'll get one of those for Kovács right around the same time we get one for Dave Sollazzo. How's that? All right. Well, let me ask this week's knob knowledge question, everybody. We appreciate seniorprivate.com for giving these great questions. And if you are the successful winner of this week's knob knowledge question, you get a brand new in the Senior Private Shop Citadel Sports Team 4-pack sticker bundle. You get to pick which team you would like to support, I guess, with the Citadel Sports Team 4-pack sticker bundle from seniorprivate.com. The question is, and don't answer this, Thomas, keep it to yourself. This is for our viewers. Text the answer to 843-779-8496. Who was the acting president in between General Summerall and General Mark Clark? So this would have been 1953, 1954 we're talking about. Who was the acting general of the Citadel? He said of himself, "I was a phony colonel sandwiched between two 4-star generals." And if you don't know the answer, well, here's a little hint. The hint is he has a building on campus named after him. So there you have it. Who was this phony colonel that the Citadel had leading the Institute back in the 1950s? Two pretty good generals he was sandwiched between, Summerall and General Mark Clark. If you text that answer, 843-779-8496, you'll get this really neat prize offer from seniorprivate.com. There you have it. See, we offer people a chance to win stuff here on this show. Okay, let's, anything else modern Citadel football we need to get out of our system before we go back to the 1970s and Dave's playing days? And then, man, this week we celebrated the 35th anniversary of one of the greatest victories in Citadel football history. Dave was a part of that. I've got a really cool picture of a scoreboard I'm going to show. Before we get to that, Andrew, anything we need to close up with this 2025 edition of Dogs Football?
Yeah, well, this isn't current, but one of the things that Dave brought up about, them playing really good teams back in the day, when I was covering the Citadel back in the 90s, I remember back-to-back. I vividly remember back-to-back games where you guys went up against Marshall and Chattanooga, and they had Randy Moss and Terrell Owens on back-to-back weeks, and I will never forget that. Reggie Moore, wasn't he the defensive back? That poor guy had to guard those two football Hall of Famers, two straight back-to-back games. I tell you what, that kid did not back down. He went after them, because he wanted to prove himself against the best. But Dave talks about the great teams they played back then, but even in the 90s, they were playing against great players in the Southern Conference, I thought.
Yes, in the 90s, like Andrew just said, the SoCon was loaded. Georgia Southern, I forget how many national championships they won. They had the legendary coach Irk Russell. Appalachian State was a dominant football team. Like Andrew said, Marshall had NFL players, Randy Moss, etc. So the SoCon's a little different right now, but back in the 90s, it was a challenge, a really big challenge every week. And, we ran the wishbone, and I think that really helped us a lot because the year we won the SoCon championship in 92, we averaged 2 passes a game, if you could believe that. And I remember Charlie Taft was very proud of that.
And there is that 1992 SoCon championship team right there on the parade ground of El Cid. And Dave, I guess you're there on the right-hand side?
Yeah,
I'm
right there.
Okay.
And on the end there, next to Al Seagraves, and another great coach. And Coach Powers was our defensive coordinator. Jeff Bleemer, as you know, in the middle, still coaching. He's at Cane Bay up in the Goose Creek area. And he coached in the CFL, played in the NFL, played for Joe Paterno at Penn State. We had a great coaching staff. Al Simonson next to the right of Jeff Bleemer. He played at Wisconsin, and just a really, really unique coaching staff. Marty Long, who played at the Citadel. So we had great kids, and on my defensive line, Thomas mentioned it earlier. Judson Bomer, he was a walk-on and earned a scholarship, played defensive end. He won the Arkansas game, picked up the fumble, ran it back. I'm not going to say how many yards because we go back and forth with that. But he won the game, was a walk-on. LaQuincy Powell, I don't know if anybody remembers LaQuincy Powell.
Oh, yeah.
6'6", 6'7", walk-on. I'll never forget, I called his high school coach, and his high school coach said, I don't know if you guys want to take him on the team. And we said, well, we can use every walk-on body we can get. And he ended up earning a scholarship, starting for us, beating Arkansas. Then we had several players that just, weren't highly recruited guys, but just played so hard and had great technique and fundamentals. And to me, that's what it's all about. And just had tremendous heart and desire, and, played to the echo of the whistle. That's the bottom line. You got to play to the echo of the whistle.
Yeah, and while you're bringing back great memories of those 90s, this was what I was referencing earlier. So let's go ahead and dive into this beautiful picture. Citadel 38, Gamecocks 35. This was October 20th, 1990.
Yeah, brings back a lot of great memories. The funniest thing was we had the ball on the 1 yard line with about a minute to go at the end of the game. We were down by 4 points, and we gave the ball in the wishbone to the great Everett Sands up the middle, 3 plays in a row. And Everett never was tackled for a loss in the history of his playing career at the Citadel. He's in the Hall of Fame, just a tremendous player. But on those 3 snaps, he couldn't get a yard. Got stopped for no gain. And then on 4th down, okay, our last play to win the football game, the last minute of the game, Jack Douglas faked it to Everett and just walked into the end zone. And all by himself. Everybody was all focused on Everett, and he just faked it to Everett and kept it and walked into the end zone. And I've never seen probably 80,000 people stand up and walk out of the stadium at one time. All the Carolina fans just got up and walked out immediately. And then we had our 5,000 Citadel fans that they allowed us to have down in the end zone. We all ran down there and we were jumping into the stands and singing the Citadel fight song. It was really an amazing day.
That would have been Dixie, and that was a great day, and I was there, and truly one of the best memories. We got to relive something like that in 2015 there at Williams-Brice Stadium too. But a fantastic win of many wins. That was the 1990 season when that game happened. So that certainly was a wonderful memory. Dave, you had, as you said, you came to the Citadel originally as a player. So you said that you got recruited to the Citadel. Bobby Ross was the coach, but Bobby Ross took over after Red Parker left to go to Clemson, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And y'all beat Furman 4 years.
4 years in a row. We sure did.
And you sent me some pictures. You're going to have to help me out with some old pictures here that you sent. First off, I got this one. What are we looking at?
That's the senior class, my senior year, that we all played together 4 years. So that would be the season of 76. We graduated in 77. And you just have some great players on that football team. Brian Ruff, number 51, Greg James, number 80. You got Dickie Regan, number 87, Randy Johnson, number 41. Ralph Ferguson, number 23, was an All-American. And once again, we were not 1AA. And Brian Ruff was an All-American, played in the NFL. And Stan Brooks, number 66, great offensive lineman. And then the guy who, I don't know, flies under the radar a little bit, but probably one of the greatest running backs in the history of the Citadel was Andrew Johnson, number 30. And just unbelievable running back. And he held a lot of records there at the Citadel for a long time. And I'm not exactly sure if someone took those records away, but just a great guy and just a great running back. I remember one game, I think we were playing VMI, and they weren't going to let him play, and he had a cast on his foot. And true story, he went back to his hotel room, put the cast in the tub, got it soaking wet, ripped the cast off, came to the locker room and said to Coach Ross, "I'm playing." That's a true story. And he ended up playing in the game. We ended up beating VMI.
Dave, are you number 61 in this picture?
Yes, I am, number 61.
All right.
I had long hair. I don't know how I got away with that.
Well, Thomas just sent me a note. He said, "I don't think any of those haircuts look like regulation military haircuts."
I was going to say the same thing. People, nowadays talk about, oh no, everybody was crew cut, everybody was military regulation haircut. Well, there's your proof it was not, right?
Well, this is the late 70s as well, I believe, and that was probably a regulation for the military and military colleges. That is a lot of hair.
That's a lot of hair.
Yeah. Now, you also sent me this picture. Tell me about this one.
Well, that's the defensive line. We all played together for 4 years. Coach Ralph Friedgen in the middle, who was a tremendous, detailed, technique, fundamental football coach, and really set the ways for me for when I went and coached for 30 years in college and high school. For 15, I was all about technique and fundamentals. And like I said, We weren't a very highly recruited group, but we were spot on with our technique, and that was because of the great Coach Friesian, and he really helped me in my career. Got me to come to Georgia Tech from the Citadel, and then he got the head job at Maryland, and I went and coached with him there for 10 years, and we had the best 10-year run in the history of University of Maryland. So that was a great defensive line right there, and like I said, just a bunch of really, really big time, what I call war daddies. They went to battle every Saturday and got the job done.
Thank you for sending those picks.
I was going to say, Dave, I got a quick question for you. Ralph is known for in his career as being an offensive mind, an offensive genius, as we say. Do you think coaching defense and the defensive line helped him, when he made the transition to the offensive, and how does that help you, do you think?
No question. He started, he was a graduate assistant at Maryland. Coach Ross was the linebacker coach, got the head job at the Citadel, took Ralph, Charlie Rizzo, Frankie Beamer, who were all GAs, graduate assistant coaches at Maryland, to the Citadel. And Ralph started as the defensive line coach. And then his 5th year at the Citadel, he went over to offensive line. Yeah. And he was a tremendous offensive line coach, coached offensive line for a really long time, and then started coaching quarterbacks. So he's pretty much run the gamut. And he had great quarterbacks, obviously, in Joe Hamilton at Georgia Tech and, et cetera, in the NFL with the San Diego Chargers. And then at the University of Maryland, we always had really, really good quarterbacks, and Ralph Friesian coached them. And, he pretty much knows it all. He could coach any position on the football field. But like you said, Andrew, he's a tremendous offensive mind, offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Yep.
We haven't had Ralph Friesian in the history of this show on as a guest, but you've mentioned several times the great Bobby Ross. And if you have a chance, go to our Citadel Greyline archives. We did a great interview with Coach Ross in March of 2009, and he talked about his time at the Citadel and more. Go into Spotify, iTunes, or go to citadel.libsyn.com. That's citadel.libsyn.com, and you can search Bobby Ross and pull up this great interview we did. We also did one with Red Parker, the late Red Parker, along that time period, and you can get a real good feel from these coaches directly when they were on this Citadel show. But some good times at El Cid back in the 1970s. You, wow, of course, went on to Maryland. Maryland, let's not forget, was contending for championships back in the early 2000s, back when, y'all were like the face of Under Armour.
Yes, we were. Kevin Plank, who played at Maryland, he started Under Armour, and then he basically got the program at Maryland to take on Under Armour, and we put him on the map, so to speak. But our first year at the University of Maryland, Coach Friesian was the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, got the head job at Maryland, and I went with him from Georgia Tech, coached the defensive line. But Maryland had not had a winning season in 10 years. And our very first year, we won the ACC championship, and we were ranked number 10 in the country. So, we turned that program around immediately. And we ended up going to 8 bowl games and just had a great tenure there for 10 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, questions for the coach?
I got it.
No? Thomas, anything from you?
No, I've just enjoyed listening, John, looking at the old pictures.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to bring this one back up because I like this picture. This picture used to be on the cover of the state newspaper every August, and this would be the Columbia paper. Every August, they would always publish the Citadel's team photo, and I just thought that was a great thing. It was the sign that football was coming. And you'd see the way the cadets would be out there with the knobs would be at the top in this picture, wearing the white jerseys, and all the upperclassmen and more. Just it was one of the few times the Citadel got on the cover of a newspaper in a positive way, at least.
Charlie Taff, not to interrupt, but Charlie Taff came from West Point, and he brought the wishbone down here to the Citadel. And the guy was just an amazing coach, very disciplined, hard-nosed. We practiced very hard. And then Charlie Taff, amazingly, like I said earlier, everybody said, all we do is run the football. We only average 2 passes a game. But then Charlie Taff went to the CFL. And, the CFL, they do the opposite. They run the ball 2 times a game and throw the ball every single snap. So Charlie Taff was an amazing head coach, was a head coach in the CFL, and he was able to make that transition from running the ball to throwing the ball every down, which is not easy to do. And then when Ralph Friedgen got the head job at the University of Maryland, he hired Charlie Taff as our offensive coordinator. And Charlie coached with us at Maryland also. So I was very fortunate to coach with Charlie Taff for 10 years at the Citadel, and then for a long time at the University of Maryland also. Just a great man.
Dave, you mentioned earlier you got LaQuincy Powell to come to the Citadel as a walk-on. You got Maurice Drayton to come to the Citadel. I think Judson Bomer was a walk-on at the Citadel. I mean, how do you convince a kid to come pay their way to go to college, and then they turn out to be great players?
Well, the old recruiting pitch, I used to tell the families when I went into the homes that the bottom line is the next 4 or 5 years is about the next 40 or 50 years. And when you graduate from the Citadel, you're pretty much set for life. Obviously, you have to continue to work hard, but you're set for life. Everybody wants a Citadel cadet to work for them, male, female. I mean, it's just tremendous because of what the school stands for and what it teaches you. Besides great academics, the discipline, the hard work, paying your dues. And, the walk-ons that we had several. For some reason, I always had a bunch on the defensive line. But those kids, they knew what they were getting themselves into, and they just came in and backed it up. And they were just really, really great people that worked extremely hard and refused to be denied. And that's what it's all about. And, we were fortunate that way because we couldn't always recruit the top athletes, but we just got tough-minded people that wanted to win.
I've spoken to old number 66, that would be Bomer, about his coming to the Citadel. And maybe he's just inflating something and not telling the truth. But he always has made it sound like he didn't really know that the Citadel was that military. He just came there to play football. He said he came there when he was a senior and laughed at all the people marching around. Now, is that true?
Well, we taught him well.
And he's not the first person that I've heard say that the Citadel kind of hid the military side when they were being recruited, at least.
Yeah, well, the recruiting pitch obviously was more towards academics and football. We didn't bring up the military.
Okay. Is that the same pitch you got, Thomas, when you came down there? You didn't have to do the military?
No, I knew what I was in for, John. I didn't get an athletic pitch.
Okay. Well, Dave, we need to kind of wrap things up. Anything you want to say or anybody else want to chime in before we say goodbye for the week?
Well, I appreciate you, number one, having me on the show. And, Charleston's a great town. Like I said, I'm from New York, but I came down here and I stayed here for 20-something years. Then I went on to coach in different places for about 20-something years. But I always said in the back of my mind, when that day comes, I'm going back to Charleston because it's a tremendous city and great people. And now I'm back, hopefully for another 20-something years. And it's good to be back. And it's good to see the Citadel football program in extremely good hands with Coach Drayton and his staff.
Outstanding. Andrew, any footnote from you, sir?
Yeah, no, I was gonna tell a quick story about Charlie Taft that Dave, I'm sure will find amusing. But one of the last years that I was on the beat, it might have been the last year, they were transitioning from the wishbone to kind of an I formation option style offense, right? And I think Kenyatta Spruill was the running back, and you guys wanted to get him the ball a little bit easier or get him the ball more or whatever it was. And this had been kind of under, you needed top secret clearance to get this information. But somebody had told me, and I walked into Charlie Taft's office and I said, "Hey, I hear you're going from the wishbone to the I formation." And the string of expletives that he shouted at me for the next 30 seconds was pretty funny. And then after he stopped and he wanted to know who the leak was, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm not going to tell you." He respected that I kept the leak under control. And even to this day, I can't remember who told me. But then he spent, and this is the difference between media now and media back then, and the kind of relationship that you had with coaches. Then he spent 45 minutes, I'm not making this up, 45 minutes going over why he changed and then drawing plays on this chalkboard for me as to why this was going to be the best move for the team and why he thought this was going to work. And it's funny that Charlie cussed me out, and trust me, that wasn't the only time he did that. He did that quite a bit. But what I liked about it was that he was open, honest, and transparent. He trusted me that I wasn't going to just go and just give out, the playbook to everybody. But that's the difference between the media back then and the media now. I had a great relationship with Charlie. He was awesome. He would ask me after every single game, he would ask just 5 minutes, like, "Hey, what did you think?" And I would just tell him, he wanted unfiltered, "This is what I thought." And then he would go on the record with me and talk about the game and everything. And it's a shame that the media and the coaching profession doesn't have that similar kind of relationship anymore.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'll say this though, Andrew. When we changed the offense that year, we were in that new offense for a few games, and then we lost the game.
Yeah,
and we didn't move the ball very well. And right after the game, Charlie said, "We're going back to the wishbone."
I remember that. Yep.
and we did. And we ended up winning a bunch of games. I mean, he was a wishbone guy at heart.
Yep.
And he was like, "I'm not going to listen to anybody. We're going back to the wishbone. I don't care." So that was great. And it helped us to have a great season.
Wow. Hey, before we get out of here, everybody, I want to let you know. Well, first of all, let me ask this question before I get to the pitch here. Someone has chimed in with a comment, and I don't know if they're right or I'm wrong or what. But Dave, what class are you at the Citadel?
Class of 77.
Okay, that's what I thought. But somebody said you might be another class. But you're really a member of all the classes. Don't you kind of feel that way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the philosophy at the Citadel.
That's right.
I mean, you're one for all and all for one every year.
Yes, sir. Well, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning kind of has that same philosophy. They're a full-service plumbing, gas, drain, and sewer company in Columbia with expert service available 8 to 5 Monday to Friday. Go to the website franklinplumbing.sc.com, and you can get a $250 off sewer replacement from Franklin Plumbing, a Citadel-led company. Happy today or you don't pay. How's your sewer acting these days, Dave?
Oh, great.
All right. That's good to know. Well, thank you, Dave, for being our very special Band of Gold Spotlight this week, and we look forward to running into you at El-Cid and Johnson Haygood and anywhere else we can, and thanks again for being a great Citadel alum.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Well, we enjoyed it too. Andrew, you have a wonderful week as well. Again, the Citadel and Furman, it's the matchup in Greenville this weekend, and get all the coverage at postandcourier.com.
I'll be on the scene up there in Greenville. Looking forward to it.
All right. Can't wait for that. And Thomas.
Go Dogs.
Yes, sir. Thomas, you have a good one too, sir.
Yes, sir, John. You as well. Go Dogs.
All right. Thomas Scruggs. And I'm John, thanking you for being a part of our show. Again, We appreciate you viewing our show, listening to us on iTunes. If you want to get a podcast of this show, check us out on Facebook. Citadel Gray Line is our page. And then on iTunes, you can find us. Just search Citadel Gray Line. We're approaching 400 episodes. Been doing this show for 17 years now. So thank y'all very much. Have a great week, and go Dogs, and fall out too.